Kiran, welcome to the podcast. Kiran Mann is a Canadian business strategist, transformation leader, and disruptor, known for guiding organizations with clarity, culture, and compassion. As CEO of Brars and founder of M2M Business Solutions, she's developed the Harmonic System, an approach that blends strategy, self awareness, and humanity. With a career spanning fashion, automotive, and global operation, Kiran helps leaders align people, purpose, and performance. Kiran, how did you get started with this journey?
I think, as you just mentioned in the introduction, I started as a fashion designer, and I feel I call myself a disruptor and something that has been always evolving, and that's what life is all about. Every position I've taken, every industry I've worked in, and the career span, the changes that I've made, they're all an evolution, starting from fashion designing to going to automotive to going into different industries under my own advisory firm and consulting firm, and now also being a CEO of in the food and beverage. Every different industry adds a new flavor to you,
Hmm.
but the basics are same, and all you're doing is evolving further and further with all the experiences you're picking up on your way.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about some of the companies you do and what kind of services you provide?
Oh, at the moment, under my consulting and advisory firm, I work with IT, I work with lighting businesses, I work with multiple different manufacturing side, I do in supply chain. I'm working with pharmaceutical, I'm working with food and beverage, obviously, and I'm working with certain automotive sections.
Hmm.
And logistics. So those are some of the different clientage that I have.
Very curious, because normally when you do like consulting or that sort of services, you kind of want to hone in on a specific industry because each industry has its own nuances, complexities, and having that experience and insight really can help you navigate the process. So I find it quite interesting how you're kind of finding yourself in such a wide range of service types. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the commonalities you see across businesses and what are some of the challenges you face with like old legacy systems like food production and manufacturing that's kind of been bureaucratic to some capacity for so many years? How do you kind of navigate change in those industries?
I would say when it comes to change, I'm a person that believes in appetite for truth. And if leaders and teams, if they can speak very openly about what is not working and not going into a defense mode or into a blame game, then the transformation is possible. That's when the real work starts. So I usually,
Mm,
when I go into an organization, I don't focus first on technologies or what operating systems do they have and what strategies do I need to apply? I usually focus on, is there a honesty about what the current performance of the business is? Is there a willingness to confront uncomfortable data that they have on their hand? And are leaders vulnerable? Are they open to share what's working and what is not working? What is bothering them at the moment? And also believing in this, not in the certainty, but into the creativity at that time when you don't want to be in status quo and you're open to change and you're willing to accept where you are. The willingness to accept change and willingness to learn is the starting of any change or transformation,
yeah,
and
I feel
that
like that's
starts
like
with truth.
yeah, I feel like that's like navigating all problems in life. But I can only imagine when you enter a company, although your interests are or should be aligned, I can only imagine there's a defensive posture at times where, some people might think that you're threatening their position or, they've been doing something a certain way for so many years and to them it feels like it's been fine. And now this person comes in and is saying, hey, I'm going to tell you how to do your job better or I'm going to kind of get in the way of what makes you comfortable. How do you diffuse that sort of defensive response?
I think that is pretty normal, whether you are going in and, touching into a current legacy that exists, or you are leading your current organization for several time and you're bringing a change, right? People are used to, if you're used to a particular type of a flavor of a coffee without naming the brands, I would say somebody gives you another one next morning and you have that frown look on your face. And I was like, why am I drinking this one? So we are creature of habits. We're used to what we take and use all the time. And same thing works in the workplaces. There's legacies, there's people that have worked on those things for years and they've put their effort. And then you come in and say, you know what, this is not going to work. We need to change. So when situations like that happen in your current or somewhere place new you have gone, it's more about um, people not going against the change you're doing, but about the disrespect they feel from the change you are doing. It's
Mm,
the emotion they feel, not the actions you're taking. And to overcome that, I would say you have to start with recognizing those people. You have to recognize the craftsmanship they have shown so far, the knowledge that they have carried, the sacrifices these people have made over the years and brought you where you are, because that's the people that have laid the foundation before you. So you got to give them that respect and understand the work they have done. And you are not replacing that. You are actually carrying it forward. So that's clarity that allows you to bring that connection between people. And secondly, you have to invite them in the redesign you're doing, right? Because you're honoring what they have created, and then you are taking it next step to design the future. So you're honoring the past and designing the future. When you're doing that, it's very important if you can get those people with you, like not
yeah.
create it and give not like present it to them. Hey, this is what I created. It's better to have them in the picture, to get them engaged, to make them understand and explain the why, not just what you are doing. It's very important for them to feel that, be part of that, and get engaged and see how the baby they created, you are just growing that baby further. Then they feel proud about it, right? And then you can use them also being the champions. Not, you have to remember they're the one that know the history before you. So having them in that champion stop positions allow you to pull them inside instead of pushing it just from the top side. I would say those are more of the main critical things. I would say modernization. That's the philosophy I believe, that modernization, it does not succeed when people feel that they're building the next chapter. It is more and not that they're being replaced. You want to be part of that journey as much as you can. That is where people feel enthusiastic. They feel they're not replaced. They're adding to the next chapter that is being built. And they're not only part of the history that was before, but they will be part of the history that is to come.
interesting. I'm curious. It sounds like your job is very people centric, people focused. I feel like the real talent is, of course, logistics and technical skills are important. But for you, it sounds like it's more of a people person first and foremost. That's your biggest barrier to entry. And I wonder how my question to you is, how has your business life changed? Can you give me one example of something that you've learned in your business life that has changed how you operate in your personal life?
How do I operate in my personal life?
As in,
I
like,
think I would
this has taught you so much of how to deal with conflict, with individual, with resolutions, and I'm sure these mechanics or these conflicts kind of trickle up on your personal life. And I know this is a weird question, but if you can try to look back and say, how has your professional life helped your personal life? I'd be curious to know.
I always say business is a bigger version of house. They both need a foundation. If there's no foundation, you can't put pillars on top of it.
Mm,
On both sides, whether it's your house where you have your, partners and your kids and your family members and all relatives, same as in work. It's people everywhere. Even God functions through people only. You can't do anything without people around you. So you have to love them and you have to understand them and you have to understand how to work around them and with them. I would say one thing, if I really want to pick on at this moment that comes to my mind, would be biggest things that I've learned is confrontation is huge. You know, really confronting, starting from like confronting other people is a start of its own. And as you grow into a higher position, having people and having those talks, and sometimes those people that also have you have a cup of coffee and then you're confronting them is not easy. The hardest one was confronting myself. The day I had to learn to ask myself, what are the places I don't feel safe? What are the places that make me uncomfortable? What are the places that are my weakness or areas of opportunity? And I want to open up and I openly want to talk about. The more confrontation I have done with myself, which I would say probably in last 3 years, it has allowed me to be very easily vulnerable and talk about anything. Like I can cut a joke on myself in a CEO boardroom meeting at any second in front of my people, just because I'm so comfortable talking about myself. So that has allowed me to do the same at my house. I do the same thing when I'm talking to my kids. I confront them, but I also confront myself in front of them. If my kids say, you know what, Mama, you haven't been spending time with us. I think that just happened 3 weeks ago. Mama, you have been traveling so much. You haven't spent time. And right away, the next morning was, Karen, you better turn your flag on. And right away, I was doing more things that in a week they're smiling at me and they're like, you're really trying. And I'm like, yeah, look, is it working? They're like, it is absolutely working because I was trying to make special food and all that. So confronting is something, once it's embedded in you, you're going to use it everywhere. You're going to use it with your work. You're going to use it at home. You're going to use it with your friends. The other thing is, I would say the biggest one is taking burnout to balance. I was actually doing a LinkedIn Live this Tuesday, past Tuesday, on the same topic about how we all think that we work a lot of hours and hence we are burnt out, or we hold certain positions and certain titles and that's why we're burnt out. I don't think so. I disagree with that concept. We are burnt out because we lost connection to ourselves. We are burnt out because we're like a elastic. You stretch, it's fine. You stretch beyond, snap, it's gone. So same thing as a human body. When we are okay to stretch ourselves to a certain extent, we're doing fine. But when we lose connection and we are not reading the signals of our body, what it's telling and what our mind is giving us a signal to stop and pause, that is when we go into burnout situations. So it's
Mm,
more about the connection. That has helped me so much because given as I rose into positions and I was running my own business over the last few years, and then I took over as a CEO of Brars, which is a huge corporation of manufacturing places and also the chain of restaurants, and I'm growing both of them. And we have probably done like 3x over year in the last 3 years post COVID. It does take a lot of hours. I've been transforming, but scaling at the same time. So the only thing that works for me is understanding, Karen, you're tired. Stop. I will stop, come out of the meeting just for 2 minutes and say, breathe in, breathe out, pause. And just those 5 seconds, the wonder they do to me, and the day I go home and I know that I'm exhausted and I do not have energy to cook or spend time with my girls, that means I overkilled it. I burnt myself. So next day it's a reminder, Karen, take those small pauses, listen to your body, connect with it, and that allows you to actually continue and do more work, but also be way more effective and efficient. So it's the philosophies that you use at your workplaces, but also at your home at the same time. They're skills, right? They're in you. So there's no limit of where you're gonna use them.
yeah. And, we were talking about an industry that's becoming more automated, sustainable. The manufacturing industry is radically changing. And I'm wondering, does that tie into how the role of leadership should change? And if you can talk a little bit more about that.
100%. I would say as the next group of people that are coming into the industries, the leaders have to now see more around the corners, instead of waiting for those disruptions to hit them. They have to sense what the market is going. They have to sense what their capabilities and have to be always thinking a step ahead. I always think that as leaders, you have to have the most creative mind. You have to be that creative being that's always thinking, and then creating that vision to give it to your team. After creativity, I also believe that clarity is very important. These two C's allow the C-suite to gain more confidence, but also to have the courage to take the steps they need. So in the market where everything is moving so fast and it's a time of uncertainty, you have to know that you have to invest into your capabilities and not into your capacities, right? You have to look at sustainability as the new competitive advantage nowadays, not just a mere compliance at that moment, but also you're balancing with your creativity and your day-to-day operation with agility. That is, I would say, the engineering excellence and the rapid iteration that is required. It's not about jobs and titles anymore. I think that's one dialogue I have with my HR director all the time is that, let's not get those rigid and put those scopes about you need this degrees and you need this and this. The people are evolving in so many different ways that you have to understand that yes, education is important for the skills. Like I think it polishes you, it expands your mind, and it allows you to be that creative being that is always open to grow. That is what education does to you. But the skill set are your skill set that you have either gained by working on them, whether you have gained by, experience over the years that you have done. And those skills is what is important, especially when you're talking about automation that is moving so fast. It is the skill set that you need to take so that people are updated to be able to work with the automation as an integration tool. I think that's where also it comes that AI and automations and technologies, they're not a replacement of human being. They're an integrated part, a tool for human to use to their best of ability. But to use them, you have to be skilled. So it is not that AI is your threat. It is you your threat if you're not growing.
Right.
And those are the parts I would say as CEOs and leaders, we have to focus on paying attention to the human potential that is out there.
Yeah. And you talk about different roles that people play within companies. You mentioned soldiers, leaders. I wonder how this dynamic plays out during crisis, and if you can talk a little bit more about that.
So I have a perfect example if I could share from this year. I use the word soldier because I grew up in the army environment. My dad was a retired brigadier, so I'm kind of into those kind of vocabularies. But what I understood seeing actual soldiers in my real life as a growing up girl, and now is soldiers are very focused. They have a mission, they have a clear scope of action they have to take, and they know what their intention is. Similarly, if you apply the same thing as leaders into a workplace, the people that go into a company with a very specific target, I'm going to turn this company, I'm going to transform this company, I'm going to change this company, I'm going to scale this company, I'm going to, realign or scale this department. They have a mission on hand. So they are very focused, determined with control in their hand, with timelines in their hand, and they're go, go, go. And they do amazing. They know what they have to do. They conquer. They will put all the type of hours they need and everything works out and they deliver. They deliver. So, but when you go into leaders, actual leaders, the soldier leaders are very focused, whereas the leaders, general leaders, they have to look at a very wider scope.
Mhm.
You're not just looking at one time of action. You're looking at the whole picture of the scope. That means you need to learn how to sit back. You need to learn how to teach other people and delegate them what you want them to achieve. You need to learn how to be patient with people. You need to learn how to allow them function and not go crazy that if they do wrong, I'm going to look bad. You need to have those patient skill sets inside you to train those people and take the time to do so. Those kind of skills, and also not to be limited in what you know. As a soldier, you are exactly the person that is needed and you're doing it. But as a
Mm.
leader, you are who you are, but you need to grow because the world is growing. So are you ready to be open and then look at the opportunities of what the world is going, where your departments are moving, where your organization are moving, where your industries are moving, and then be ready to not say, I know it. You don't need to be Mr. and Miss Right. You need to be always say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming. The moment we say, I know it, and I know exactly what to do it, you have paused. It's like dead at that point. And that is the difference between a soldier and a leader. And as a leader, you need to really wear bigger pants and have more weight on your shoulder to carry out the legacy that you are involved in.
I love that breakdown and that distinction. Kiran, how could people get in touch with you?
I would say at the moment, it would be LinkedIn, my second home online, Kiran Mann. And or you can look at my website that is upcoming, not fully ready, but it's there. It's a home where you can reach out to me, and it's kiranman.com.
Great. Thank you for your time and wisdom, Kiran. It's been an honest pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for having me.